Hello, everyone. I'm David. Yeah, that crazy man talks about just about anything. Well, for the past few years, especially since the pandemic come along, and we had this coronavirus that has mutated, and I've always inserted from the beginning that it started because of the Legionnaires' disease or that bacteria from it and being absorbed by a virus that mutated becomes SARS that mutated on to become COVID 19. That's kind of a mutated to become all these other things, Omicrons, and now it's mutating again. This is just a natural cycle of a virus. Should we or should we not get a shot? You know, I'm in the mind to remind people that lots of people that started schools in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and even to the 80s, the children were required to have a shot record showing where they've had their shots and everything. Even adults after a certain age had to have shots, you know? And you think, well, that was then. That has nothing to do with now. Actually, that has everything to do with now. Because during the 30s, 40s, and 50s, when polio was coming out and people were getting sick with it, even our president got sick with it. And they thought that, looked at all the little things that they could do to stop this. And you think it was just in America that this happened. Well, it wasn't just in America, it was around the world. Well, lots of people died from it. And then the aviary flu that happened when people turned the phrase of Spanish flu, but it wasn't a Spanish flu, it was aviary. Something that like a bird or something like that. And then they found out that pigs were the one that transmitted it. Well, birds were eating the crap of the pigs and spreading it around. But that killed more people than this COVID has. You know, things just don't seem right, does it? Now, if you read the lines that I put out of viruses versus evolution, there was a small town in France or Germany or someplace like that. When the plague started, it seemed like it just bypassed everybody in there, and they couldn't figure out why. And then they did a little study here, and they found out that it was because the plague wasn't what they thought it was. Actually, it was a fungus, a little fungus that was growing on some rye grass that you think that would make a big difference. But the people there, they got used to it. Their bodies kind of evolved to it. So when it broke out and nobody else was able to adapt to it, they had already adapted. They had had many years. See, what it was that there were rats eating this fungus off this wild rye grass. And then the rats would take and jump aboard these different places And the fleas that was on the rats then were jumping over onto people. People were getting bit by these fleas and coming down with plague. And it started way back into China. They like to think that it did back there. But no, it actually all started throughout the world about the same time. And that's the reason why it was so bad, because people were getting sick and dying and they didn't know what to do with them and they just throw them around. But what happened? Why did it stop? And you think, well, people started washing their hands and doing things like that. Little things to protect themselves. But the biggest part of the reason why, because people got used to it. Their body just built up a natural resistance to it. In other words, they evolved. So, in the context of viruses versus evolution, and I use that word loosely because evolution is something that humans do. We evolve just like the viruses do to overcome things. And sometimes the things we do, we don't even realize is causing a problem to us. I'm going to give you an instant of it. In grade school, fifth grade, there was a bunch of kids getting sick in school, and they got sick mainly at a certain time, and a few of them had to be hospitalized because of it. And the doctors still don't know what it was that was going on. But in my mind, I figured it out. I'm always quick about figuring things out. And one of the things that I supposedly figured out was that all these football players in school, all these people working in the county and all, what they all had in common was they were getting overheated. And then they got sick. And they tried to come up with all these ideas about why they were getting sick. And their speculations, they never did figure out. It just stopped. And the doctors couldn't figure it out. Quite a few of the elementary and high school kids, they all got sick. Lots of the adults, they all got sick. And one thing that I noticed, that there are some that got sick because they were getting very hot and coming in and downing a bunch of cold water. And it was the cold water, I estimated, that made the difference. For us that didn't get real overheated, came in, got a little bit of cold water, we were fine. But the ones that got very overheated, came in and drank as much cold water as they could, they came down with a case of appendicitis. I didn't get sick because I figured this out the first day the teachers and all were talking about it. But what was happening was that, to me at the time, was that the body was changing. So instead of drinking cold water, I'd go into the bathroom and I'd drink some just regular tap water. And I was fine. The others wasn't. They kept on saying it was the other things here and there. Now, just to show you, the body sometimes, it's little things you don't realize that are making you sick. The body is not made to do certain things until it's forced to, and then the body changes. Ask yourself, how long has it been that everybody in the world started drinking cold water? Not until they invented the ice to where you could put it in there. Sure, in the wintertime, the water was cold, but they kept on saying it was other things. Something bacteria and stuff like that in there making people sick, killing them and all. But in my mind, I kept on wondering, people change just like everything else we learn to adapt and overcome. If all of a sudden there was be a pandemic of people dying from other things and you just can't figure it out, don't you think that it may be because of evolution? The human body is changing. I mean, at one time we were all nothing but hairy beasts. Now look at us. Don't look at my beard. But we were just hairy beasts. And now everybody's doing everything they can to get rid of the hair on their body. And there's lots of people that getting sick. Now, there was another study done a long time ago with the Inuit. And their Inuit are from Greenland and up there during the real cold places throughout northern Canada and all like that. And they started doing some studies there with them and found out they had extremely high cholesterol. And they started giving them medication to help lower the cholesterol, moving around that from this place and that place, from one type of climate to another. But what they found out was these Inuits lowered the cholesterol in their body and they started getting flu, measles, mumps, and all these other things in was happening to them. Some of them were dying. And it's because the cholesterol that was in their system was like an antifreeze for their body. And that antifreeze protected them from the flu, from the cold, from all these other things. Their body just naturally was protected because of that cholesterol and that extra bit of antifreeze that was in their blood. So the scientists, they let the people go back to being the way they were, living the way they were, and things got better for them. You know, they say that when the Spanish invaded Mexico and all the Mayas down there and all the different Indian tribes down there, sure, the Spanish was run off from there. But later on, the native people there started dying out. And what was killing them was all the things that we had already overcome. We evolved to overcome. But the tribes there, they hadn't overcome those things. Evolution was stronger to overcome these viruses and these bacteria things that was happening to us. And the people that wasn't evolved yet, it just had a field day with them. Do you think that maybe all that's happening to us right now, that we are evolving? Well, we're going to have to. And lots of people, their body's going to evolve. And when they do, there's going to have to be a new type of virus come out, get them sick again, and they're going to evolve. And right now, everybody's thinking about, well, the virus is killing people. Is it that the virus is killing people, or is it that the virus is helping us to evolve into another type of human being? That's my question to you. And I wonder just what you may think about that. come on, people. You can Google all this stuff and find out for yourself. I mean, you don't have to be a brain surgeon or genius to figure all this stuff out. All you have to do is Google it. I had a friend one time tell me that she thought I was the smartest person she had ever met because I knew all this stuff. It's not that I know all this stuff, it's as much as I Google it. Well, people, you can figure out all that I've just said to you the same way I did. Look it up, find out, and know that if you get the vaccine or don't get the vaccine, don't give in to the fear and the mongering because more people die because of fear than they do anything else. Don't believe me? Look at all the religious wars and things going on because this one group of people fear this other group of people. It's done more to kill people than anything else. Anyway, as I light my cigar for one more time, I'm going to leave it with you and ask that you think about what I've said. Evolution? Evolution could kill more people than any virus can. And are we evolving? I believe we are. Y'all take it easy. Bye bye.